Welcome to the realm of ideas is free to all. I'm Bruce Gemmel, architect, researcher, various different things, various different people. And this is a project that's something that I'd started on another platform, which had actually been an extension of a project I'd started with another person. And basically now it's become something that I feel has a value to myself. And I'm going to basically put these together as a series of kind of like quick discussions on items of interest to me. The platform is called The Realm of Ideas is free to all. This is going to be a posted video. Next week, it will basically be a live stream. It will be posted tonight at 3 a.m. Monday morning, New York City time. And then starting next week, since I'll be able to live stream, we will basically live stream at that same time. So it'll be Sunday night into Monday morning, 3 a.m. Monday morning. Today is since is like the 25th of November. So basically Monday the 25th of November is our first one, and the next one will basically be, let me see on my calendar so we knew quickly. Okay. All right. Uh, Okay, calendar, November. So the next one will be Monday, December 2nd, December 9th, December 16th, December 23rd. So it'll basically be at 3 a.m. Okay, so why the realm of ideas is free to all? Uh, Interesting, like sometimes in the break or the interim, you come up with things that make sense relative to what you basically thought was something somewhat different. So in the result of kind of having the break between the first iteration and now second iteration of these lectures or discussions, I came to understand the fact that there may be a reason to kind of assert the fact that the realm of ideas needs to be free to all. And kind of happens kind of by chance that, these things that you kind of take for granted are things that other people not only don't have the luxury of, which I was aware of, but other times the fact that there will people would fight you on something that seems so obviously necessary. So let me start with a story as to how I kind of like came across this. As a young professor in New York City, I was in a team teaching unit in a fundamental design studio, first year design studio. And as a result, I kind of thought I'd play a prank, which it kind of turned out was actually pretty fun, but probably is good to illustrate the necessity or the kind of like reality of why this idea makes sense to me. Anyway, I was a fairly young faculty member and I always looked young for my age. So I was maybe 25, 26. But again, the interim age, the beginning age for entering undergraduate students is like 17, 18. So I looked like maybe I could kind of get away. I said, let me try something. So I told my two colleagues, just back me up on this. Just play along. Of course, since they knew I was, complete, kind of nutcase, they said, "All right, whatever. We can't really stop him, so we can't taser him." I don't think tasers were around in the '80s, but they'd realize like, well, yeah, let's just put up with it. I mean, whatever. So went and sat in the back of the room, and as the students started to kind of file in, they kind of saw me as just someone who had kind of gotten there early, like everyone, like some of the other people. As they straggled in, we took our seats. And we started to talk among ourselves and talk about various things in terms of like, here we were, first year design studio, aspiring architects looking to kind of find out, where this goes and what this meant and everything like that. So as a result of the discussions, I hadn't really thought this the whole thing through. I realized that at least to the other people in my table, I looked like I was kind of fairly well along in terms of where where I kind of was relative to the rest of them. So I hadn't really thought about this, but they, when we started to do our first project, they kind of elected me as like a team leader, which I thought, being the fact that I was, now, been a professor for a while, I thought to myself, well, at least I know that I can kind of rank well in terms of at least, first day, first year students in architectural school, at least they kind of recognize a little bit of ability. Anyway, I never really thought about what happened if I hadn't been elected team captain. But anyway, it didn't matter. So what happened was we had got up there, and my concern was the kind of somewhat obedient nature of students, which kind of somewhat kind of perturbed me, and I kind of felt somewhat uh, kind of worried about that. So anyway, when our project came to be presented, I presented my project, and then basically, the idea was there would be a discussion. So what I did was when there was pushback, when the professors, my two colleagues basically made their assessments, right? I started a discussion based on the colleague kind of ship of like, this is your approach, this is my approach, this is my feeling, and everything. And it started back and forth. And instantly there was a concern with some of the students. It's like, what's this guy doing? Now, I my colleagues kind of got a sense that what they realized, or maybe it was just poor criticism on their part. But anyway, they were kind of making either intentionally weak arguments or they just formed weak arguments in relationship to what I said, which allowed me this opportunity to kind of take advantage and really push my point. And regardless of what the point was, it was the fact that made a more compelling argument for my project than they were willing than they could kind of push back with their observations, criticisms. What I was expecting was the fact that the students now were very perplexed by this as to like, what's this kid doing? Why is he being so belligerent? And it came off as kind of like, on their side is like somewhat disrespectful. Anyway, so as a result, started to get heated, but not heated between myself and my colleagues, heated between myself and my teammates and the other students in the class, to the point where some of them started to kind of like question me and kind of like not in also not in the most kind and respectful way. Like, hey man, they told you the project's not any good. You guys need to just go back and take that and understand that. And they're like, it's like, okay, yeah, we realize, like, hey man, look, we gave it our best shot. And I said, no, 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 I don't agree. And then it kind of continued that more it became me against the other students, where the students were like, the authorities have spoken, and it's your responsibility to accept that and move on. And I thought, okay, this is exactly what I'm looking for. So I basically challenged them and said, like, well, where does their authority derive from? Like, does it derive from their position as professors, or does it derive from the authority of their argument? Is their argument more compelling than mine? And the answer is, well, it has to be more compelling than mine. They're professors, and you're just some. And I remember one side is some guy said like he actually used the term dog shit freshman, like the rest of us. And I thought, you know, that was exactly what I was looking for. Was this idea that their obedience had already been baked into them. And this is like, it was like 1988, 89, something like that. So I was like, okay, this is exactly it. And I kind of said, like, well, I disagree. And they said, well, you don't have the right to disagree. You're basically been told what to do and, understand that that's what needs to take place. So as a result, I continued to make my point just to kind of create the energy in the room. And as a result, it started to get really heated. At one point, this fairly large student who kind of felt, I guess, as if like he needed to chivalrously defend the honor of the two other professors who were females. He said, "Hey, man, shut the fuck up, or I'll shut you up." And I'm like, "Okay, here we go. This is exactly it." I mean, me, kind of loving to kind of stir the pot. I was like, "This is exactly what I want." So I said, like, it's like, no, you shut the fuck up because you don't know what the fuck you're talking about and you have no idea what's going on here. He goes, I know what's going on here. You're just like somebody who needs a lot of attention, blah, 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 blah. That was probably the only true thing he said, that I may need a lot of attention. So as a result, I thought to myself, okay, this is good. Now, at the same time that this happens, the dean of the school walks by, and I think one of my colleagues kind of says like, "Oh, by the way, this is blah blah blah, such and such. Shut. He's the dean of the Department of Architecture, here." And I thought it was like, and I kind of said to him, I was like, and I kind of mentioned him by his first name. I said, "Oh, hi, blah blah blah," and he goes, "Oh, hey, Bruce," and everyone's like, "Did he just call the dean by his first name?" It's like, what's going on? So there was this sense of like, what's going on here? But now this time, everyone's completely confused. And I said, blah, 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 Dean, Mr. Dean, sir, what is it I do here? And he goes, Bruce, I have no idea. But he goes, like, the department employs you as a professor. And as a result, like, you get good results. So we kind of like, don't have you arrested, kind of something like that. But he goes, like, try to have no fights on the first day. Said, taken, understood. We'll work on that. And we didn't have any fisticuffs. But anyway, so now, ironically, everyone's like, "Oh my God, he's like this guy." And again, I try to say, like, you guys don't know who I am. You don't know what my position is. You're assuming something, but even if that was the case, that has no relevance. So now this guy's like, "Oh man, I'm really sorry." I said, "Look, what are you sorry for?" It's like, "Oh, I'm sorry that I didn't." I said, "Didn't take your position with the proper authority and respect." I said, "No, no, you did. You just were clueless as to like what the purpose is. The purpose is not my position. The purpose is the value and consequence of my argument." So I realized that, like, if I had been the dean or a professor or a student, though my position as a professor is because I have attained at least the illusion of the mastery of my craft to some degree, and that as a result, the university feels that, like, it might be of benefit to have me in that position, which is nice, right? But at the same time, the idea is this sense of obedience, right? Questioning and understanding is a problem. So basically, I said, why was it you didn't appreciate my point of view? And he goes, I didn't even listen to what you were saying. I said, there you go. I said, that's what you guys have to realize. If you listen to me over the course of this semester, you listen to me not because of the position I'm in, but of the consequence of the things that I say. Because there's nothing that says that what I say will be of consequence any more than anyone else. And it's important that you understand the ability that the authority comes from the compelling nature of the argument, not the authority of a position. So you will often find today, and this interesting, is like this kind of may be pertinent, is that the realm of ideas is free to all because everyone has the opportunity to participate in the exchange and the discussion. But what means to create consequence is that it has a kind of usefulness, a utility to those people, and it kind of has a kind of persuasive capability in that people seem to understand that utility and adopt it into their own lives. So in this case, I use that example to illustrate the idea that the realm of ideas is free to all. Everyone is free to engage and should enjoy and appreciate because it's not always such that we all have that. But in the fact that we do, we need to appreciate the fact that in that case, right, the authority comes from the consequence of what is said, not who someone is. So that was kind of basically why the realm of ideas, kind of became, as an example, something that I thought. So in continuing this, it's going to be this sense where I'll speak about things that are important to me in my work. Because I find that I kind of work these things through in my mind as I go, and I find that valuable. So as a result, I can benefit from doing that. So that's kind of how this came about. But in the nature of that, that's kind of where, you know, uh, that's where this starts. You need to have the freedom to say whatever you like. Not everything that's said is of equal consequence. The value of discourse is to find that there is a resultant utility in discussion and in ideas, and that there's the persuasion rather than the coercion comes through the idea that someone presents something of consequence. So that's kind of what we're looking for. Now, I'm not saying that any of these things, uh, you know, that I'm going to say are going to have any value at all. I'm not looking to that. I'm looking to basically appreciate these things as a result of the nature of what I do. So I kind of like remember putting this body of work together before and then kind of looking at it and feeling quite good about it. I thought, it was going to possibly be a book or something or a series of lectures, whatever. But these open exchanges allow you to be exposed to persuasion through ideas, through consequence. And I'll go into these things later, but I mean, this is something that I've kind of picked up, as kind of understood and appreciated from from other authors that have made an impact on me, which I'll go into. But as a result, that's kind of what brings about this initial discussion. That example of the fact that, like, people assumed that I was a student, so therefore what I said was not going to be of any value, even though no one checked the value, which gave me the kind of saying of like that as you go, certain things kind of become important and you kind of develop almost your own lexicon. But in this case, three things became important, and they were criticism, judgment, and authority. And I think the things were the fact that authority came from the ability to hold sway in terms of the consistency of being able to delineate consequence. And though that is likely to be the result of the person who has spent the most time studying in a particular uh, field, that doesn't mean that's always going to be the case, and that innovations and consequence can come from other places. In this case, I kind of played a trick, but it kind of basically kind of shed that kind of veil of kind of like the kind of like the kind of dumb stare of obedience, of like, tell me what I need to do. It's like, no, you need to find out what you need to do. So criticism was that sense of observations of circumstance in order to find something of consequence. Because anyone can say whatever they want. That's freedom of expression. That's nice. That's a great luxury. What I think is important is it takes true brilliance and genius to be able to find what is essential to say at any moment in terms of that which is of the most significance or consequence. So the genius comes in what someone says that finds the deepest understanding of that which is the issue under discussion, under observation and concern. So circumstance, basically is that what you should attend to. Also, in terms of criticism, and this is kind of a kind of something to help younger people who kind of see the kind of pejorative side or kind of negative side, is that some people, especially in architectural school or any kind of speculative endeavor where people are kind of telling you about and assessing the nature of your work, there are going to be people who are going to be dicks and assholes and are going to basically just say mean things just to hurt your feelings, whatever their own issues are. But the point is, if it's of consequence or if it's of value or utility, understand that if what is said is valuable, right, that's irrelevant based on the intent. So what I think might be helpful for young students, or people who kind of start to engage in the realm of ideas, and the realm of ideas is not for everyone. It's not something you have to do, but it's good to understand that that needs to be left for those of us who want to engage in it. Is that if you can separate the intent from the information, you'll be better off, because one of the kind of funny psychological realities of life is that sometimes people end up hurting other people by telling them the truth. And it kind of seems ironic and almost strange, but the reality is, if someone tells you something that's valuable to you and your feelings get hurt, that's an issue you need to look into. But if you can separate the intent of the individual's presentation of the ideas from the information embodied in the ideas, you may be able to find that kind of alleviates some of the pain. But in terms of like these ideas, the realm of ideas, uh, it's going to be challenging, and there are going to be things that are kind of going to open your eyes, sometimes shock you. But the reality is, it's a great. There's no better place for an inquisitive, adventurous mind in the realm of ideas. I mean, it's been a place where I've lived, oh my God, for pretty much as long as I can imagine. So it's worth fighting for to be here. But like I said, it's not for everyone. So the point is, separate the intent from the information and understand the value of criticism. Because I believe the greatest form of respect and courtesy that you can kind of give to anyone is your criticism. Is basically trying to find that which is of the most consequence of the circumstance under observation, under discussion. Because anyone can say, "Oh, that's very nice," or "It's very pretty," but it takes effort to look and see what needs to be said. So there's a difference between what needs to be said and the fact you have a right to say it. Right? One is an act of social liberty. The other is an investigation into the idea of genius and great beauty. The second thing is judgment. In order to understand what's of consequence, you need to be able to discern for yourself what is valuable. And the only way to do that is to kind of teach yourself to be able to judge as clearly, as truthfully, and as honestly the things that you see and hear as best you can. Bias is inevitable. Objectivity is basically like truth. It's something that can be aspired to, but it's very mercurial. It may be unattainable, but the reality is the pursuit of it is greatly of consequence, and it brings about those things that we revere as genius and greatness, and those things that people obsess over, like I obsess over certain things indefinite, for seems like what forever seems forever. And there's a loss when those things are taken away. And the second thing is authority. Authority basically is that which is comes from the ability to say that which is most compelling on the more consistent level. A person's authority comes from their ability to consistently be that person that people are listening to. So, with that said, we kind of I went a little bit over my. I usually said 15 to 20 minutes for the statement. So as a result, I kind of like passed that, messed up. So next week, I will be my first piece that I'll be discussing, and basically that topic will be the operation of the metaphor. And then basically after that, the organic metaphor, the artificial, or the aesthetic metaphor, and then unbreakable bonds, or the proto metaphor. So those be the next pieces. Like I said, the next week, well, I think it's was it December 2nd? Let me just check it again. What we had on the schedule. Yes, it's December 2nd, Monday, 3 a.m. So since most of the people that have kind of like been excited about the possibility of listening to these things come from different parts, they're like, oh, what's a time that would like, well, 3 a.m. seems reasonable. So like Monday morning, 3 a.m. So some of my friends are getting up to go to work. Some people have been up from Europe, or the people are kind of going to whatever. The only people who are asleep are, well, some of my West Coast friends are kind of just going to bed. So that's basically going to be it. So this will post at 3 a.m. this morning. That'll be our first one. So in closing, let me just say the realm of ideas is free to all, and it's to our benefit to keep it that way. Thank you.